Welcome back. We have done now a few aggregate queries on the IMDb database. We'll continue in this video with a few aggregate queries on the Facebook database. The ultimate goal of this session is not only to practice with a few more aggregate queries, but also we want to see how we can run group by queries based on multiple attributes and not only based on the values of a single attribute that we have done so far. So let's go to the Facebook database, and first we'll work on two simple examples before trying to do the more complex one. First, we want to find the number of males and females that we have in the database. Let's take a look at the ER diagram, and we can see that the information about gender is in the profiles table and in particular in the sex attribute. Let's take a look at the data. So we type select sex, profile ID from profiles, and we're going to group by based on sex because we want to see how many males and females we have. So now we type group by sex, and what is the aggregate functions that we want to use? Since we want to count the number of profile IDs that fall under the different values of sex, we're going to use the count aggregate, and we can use either count profile ID or count star. Since profile ID is the primary key, it is never empty, so the two aggregates are going to be completely equivalent. So we write our query now, select sex, count star as, call it num, from profiles group by sex. Let's execute this query, and you see that we have about 9,000 males, 12,300 females, and we have approximately 4,500 people that didn't put any value at the sex column. So the group by group has a null value in the sex column. Now, let's do another query. We want now to count students in each political view. So following exactly the same logic as we have just used for males and females, we're going to use now group by based on political views. So we write now our query, select from profiles, group by political views. And we're going to select political views, count star as num. We execute the query, you'll see that we have 11,000 people with no political views declared, 805 apathetic, 936 conservative, almost 6,500 liberal students, 325 libertarian, and so on. And then we see the numbers for moderate, other, very conservative, and very liberal. Let's examine our next query that will combine the two queries that we have done above. We have seen how many males and females we have. We have seen how many liberals, conservatives, moderates, etc. we have. What we want to do now is we want to break down of males and females across political views. In other words, what we want to do is we want to see how many apathetic males we have, how many apathetic females we have, how many liberal males, how many liberal females, and so on. In this case, the group is not defined by the values of a single attribute, but by the values of a combination of attributes. For convenience in this query, I will ignore the null values in either attribute. So let's write the basic query. So we type select profile ID, sex, political views from profiles, where sex is not null and political views is not null, order by political views, sex. So here we are ordering by first political views and then sex so that we can see our groups. So let's take a look at the results, run this query and scroll down. You will see now that we have our groups visually organized. We have the female apathetic group, the male apathetic group, and so on. So the groups that we have now are defined not based on a single attribute value, as we have done so far, but based on the values that appear in a combination of attributes, in this case, political views and sex. So how do we translate that in a group by? Well, we put multiple attributes in the group by. So we write group by political views, sex. Now what we want to achieve is for each of the group, we want to count how many profile IDs appear within this group. So now our query includes the two group by attributes in the select, followed by the count star aggregate. So we write select the two attributes that we care about, political views, comma sex, this defines the group, comma count star, that defines the aggregate, and then from profiles where sex is not null and profile political views is not null. And we do then the group by political view sex, order by political views sex. Notice, important, the where goes before the group by. So the order that we have in SQL is select, from, where, group by, order by. This order is very, very strict in SQL. There is no switching around. So if you try to put where after group by, you'll get an error. So make sure that the order of these clauses is always the same. We execute this query, and here's what we get back. We have the number of apathetic females and males, number of conservative males and females, and so on. To summarize, a key concept that we examined in this video is that we can define groups not only based on a value of a single attribute, but also on the values of combination of attributes. Actually, we can have 2, 3, 4, as many attributes as we want in the group by clause to specify our groups. In our next video, we are going to examine one additional clause in SQL, the having clause, and we are going to wrap up our discussion of aggregates. So until then, play around and practice. See you next time.